Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make.
Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with, now they looking nervously. And I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet next to me.
I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
I can't contain it, I'm coming out with a statement. You really changed, man, all your music and arrangement. You don't know shit, shut your mouth, you can save it. I'm the same dude that got his come up from the basement. 100 songs, 100 weeks, didn't change it. Experiments, development, intelligence, and patience. I'll do it all again, cause I never feel complacent. Let's keep the good vibes, positivity's contagious. I'm never looking back, cause I made a life that's passionate. A college graduate suppressing all his talents, yeah. He found a way to go and change, become an advocate. For taking control of your life, go out and battle. And you think you have a dream, then act on it. Get after it, get out your head and fucking capture it. You got one life to master it. Don't give up on your future, we all start losers. We're all late bloomers, gotta struggle through the sewer.
What you say? Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
Well, hello, Ed. How are you?
Good evening, John. Good evening, listeners. I'm doing really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Better than Ben, who's still recovering from his impromptu surgery. But hey ho, that's how things go. You know, and sometimes you're better just to lie down and take a little bit of a rest instead of trying to get right back into back onto the horse. But with someone like Ben, definitely. You can't really tell him what to do because he just keeps poisoning himself, doesn't he? Anyway, speaking of poison, what's yours tonight? I'm on Peroni.
I've got a very nice glass of red wine from Portugal called the Sardine Submarine, and it's really rather nice.
Rather topical, considering what's happened in the last week or so.
Yes, indeed. It's just non-stop craziness from Clown World. Every time I think that it can't possibly get more insane, something happens, and lo and behold, it gets more crazy.
Jolly good. Right, so a bit of housekeeping. How are we doing, people? Are we okay for audio? Any echo? Ed's all echoey, right? Okay, let me try something then.
I haven't done anything different on this.
No, that's
got my headset on.
That's fine, Ed. It's not you. It's me. I've been doing things differently. Right. Speak to me, Ed.
Hello, John. My name's Ed. How are you?
Right. Any better? Any better, people?
I can keep talking if you like. I can talk behind legs
go
of
on.
a donkey if you give me half the chance.
Yep, that's it. I think that's that cured. Jesse says that's better. Yep. Okay, there
awesome.
We go. So there we go.
So,
I've been mucking around. So let's get into it. Inside the Vatican secret archives. Let's go for it.
Yes. So just to give so everyone knows what to expect, I'm going to do a little bit of a history about the Vatican itself, not too long, just to give people a few a little bit of some frame of reference. Then we'll talk about the secret archives themselves. And I mean, there's so much in the secret archives that it's hours and hours worth of podcasts. So I've picked 9 of what I think are the more interesting ones. And then after that, we're going to talk a little bit about the Pope John Paul I, because no rabbit hole about the Vatican is complete without a little bit about him. And yeah, that's the stage. So let's get started. Right. So the Vatican, also known as the Holy See or Vatican City-State, is, as most people probably know, a city-state inside of Rome in Italy. It's the smallest state in the world, both by area and population, spanning an area of approximately 44 hectares, which is 110 acres, with a population of just over 800. The Vatican is the headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church and home to the Pope, the Bishop of Rome, who serves as the worldwide spiritual leader of the Catholic faithful. Now, the origins of the Vatican can be traced back to St. Peter, which is, St. Peter was martyred in Rome in 64 AD. So 2,000 years worth of history, trying to sum that up into an hour-long podcast. Through the centuries, the papacy and thus the Vatican's influence grew with the increasing importance of the church in the lives of the European people. I mean, everybody knows that Christians were completely persecuted by the Romans until Emperor Constantine converted the whole shooting match to Christianity. There's been some pretty significant events in its history. You've got the Papal Schism, which lasted from 1378 to 1470. And what I found amusing was that during this period, there were at least 3 different people that were claiming to be Pope at the same time.
Schism? That sounds a bit painful.
Yeah. It does, but then there's quite a lot of the words the Vatican chooses seem to be painful. I mean, because we've got the Inquisition, and I mean it's as varied as you.
No one expects the Inquisition. 3 chief weapons are fear, surprise, and an almost fanatical devotion to the Pope. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Absolutely. So over the years, the Vatican's political powers fluctuated, most notably affected by the Italian unification movement in the 17th century, which was when it went from being all city-states into being what we now know as Italy. And since Rome was declared as Italy's capital in 1870, the Pope effectively lost control over the Papal States. And because some of those states that made up Italy were actually controlled by the papacy. And only maintaining authority over a small territory within Rome. Finally, in 1929, the Lateran Treaty was signed by Benito Mussolini, representing the Kingdom of Italy, and Cardinal Pietro Gasparri for the Holy See. This treaty recognized the Vatican City as an independent sovereign entity, and the conflict between the Italian state and the papacy was thus resolved. That was actually something I didn't know. I thought that the Vatican had always just kind of been the Vatican ever since Jesus or Peter or whatever.
From time immemorial, as they say.
Yeah, and the Vatican that we know today is, at current counting, less than 100 years old. It was also in severe financial trouble back in the late 1920s, and one of the things that Benito Mussolini did, apart from giving them a whole bunch of money, was and creating the Vatican city-state, giving them tax-exempt status. He also said that the Italian state would pay for the priests and stuff in Italy, so that the Vatican didn't have to cover a whole bunch of salaries.
That was decent.
One of the more significant events at the Vatican in recent history was the Second Vatican Council, which took place from 1962 to 1965. Which was an ecumenical council initiated by Pope John the 23rd and continued by Pope Paul VI. Introduced various reforms within the Catholic Church and tried to foster a spirit of unity among Christian denominations. That was also where they kind of decided that things like birth control were kind of off limits, and some of the more modern issues that the Catholic Church has had started there. Mm-hmm. But obviously, the Vatican continues to play a vital role in the religious and cultural lives of people around the world. So there's probably people listening who are Catholics. And I would like to say at this stage that at no point in this podcast am I intending to be disrespectful towards the church or the Pope or Jesus or Christianity or anything like that. We're just diving down a rabbit hole, and I've tried to be respectful of people's religious beliefs and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not.
Yeah.
I'm not here to. I'll get on with it.
Get to the chase. Come on.
So
we're champing at the bit here.
Yeah. All right. We're getting there. So that was a very brief history of the Vatican. And now let's move on to. There you can see on the screen. That's essentially the world's smallest country, and the producer of much intrigue and all sorts of other things. I mean, some of the popes, if you actually delve into the history, some of the popes were properly mental, seriously mental, and had ridiculous amounts of power. That was the Pope and Mussolini when they signed the Treaty of the Lateran Treaty. So now we move on to the Secret Archives, which is one of the most heavily secured and fortified buildings on the planet. The Vatican Secret Archives, known more officially as the Vatican Apostolic Archives, is an iconic institution surrounded in mystery and intrigue. Established under the papacy of Pope Paul V in 1612, the archives have been an essential part of the Vatican's documentation and record keeping for centuries. The vast collection, which spans over 85 kilometers of shelves, contains historical documents and materials that chronicle the history of the Roman Catholic Church and its impact on global events. One of the most significant events pertaining to the archives was actually its own creation. They were initially established to house the Holy See's official documents deemed necessary for the functioning of the Church. But over time, the scope of materials has expanded, incorporating state papers, letters, accounts, and other documents from various sources. And we use the term various very loosely.
Van Helsing?
In 1880... who knows? In 1883, Pope Leo XIII created the Scuola Vaticana di Paleografia, Diplomatica e Archivista. Sorry, Italians. To train church officials in the specialized skills of documenting, preserving, and managing the archives. This move to open the archives up to a select group of scholars, enabling rigorous studies and research. It was under Leo XIII's papacy that the Apostolic Library and Secret Archives were declared to be separate entities, each administering a distinct function. The archives, though referred to as secret, were not entirely closed off from the outside world. During World War II, for instance, Pope Pius XII granted the International Red Cross access to the archives. The documents provided evidence of the forced deportation of Jews, helping to track the fates of many who went missing during the Holocaust. This period also saw the archive safeguarding priceless documents from European libraries and archives that were endangered during wartime. Throughout the 20th century, the archives continued to play a significant and tangible role in major historical events. In 1981, following an assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II, the archives were instrumental in identifying and capturing the Turkish gunman, whose name I totally can't pronounce, Mehmet Ali something, by providing vital photographic evidence. Characterized by a steady and gradual opening up of the archives, the latter part of the 20th century saw the allowance of qualified lay scholars to access the archives on a case-by-case basis. In 2006, Pope Benedict XVI granted access to researchers of documents ranging from 1922 to 1939 pertaining to the pontificate of Pope Pius XI. People should know that each incoming pope is one of the traditions is that they'll open up a certain section of the archives from one of their predecessors.
Okay, so
they
pop open a new archive.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Try this, can't be able to hear all week.
Yeah, but I mean, in this case, the case that I mentioned with Pope Pius XI, it was in response to allegations of anti-Semitism and revealed the church's complex relationship with Nazism, communism, and fascism during the nascent stages of World War II. Now, there's a huge amount of controversy relating to the Catholic Church's role in World War II and their role in not necessarily supporting Hitler, but kind of supporting him. And the excuse was that there's lots of Catholics in Germany, and if the Catholic Church went against Hitler, that the Catholics in Germany would be in danger. That was the reason given. But after the war, there's all sorts of rumors about the escaping Nazis who ended up in Argentina or Antarctica or wherever, being transferred through the Vatican. So, as people probably know, the Vatican secret archives have been the subject of countless conspiracy theories, thrillers, and works of fiction. The archives serve not only as a repository of ecclesiastical documents, but also as a symbol of the church's influence on politics, science, the arts, and human history as a whole.
Right. Hold on. I've got questions. Right, I get two questions here that I need you to answer these questions. They might be in your presentation, but are they underground?
I would imagine that some of it is underground, but the archives themselves, they are an actual above ground building.
Okay.
I mean, obviously,
right.
No, go on. Second question.
Are there secret archives? Like double secret archives, if you will.
Given some of the stuff, because I've finished the sort of brief intro to the Vatican archives. So as you'll see from some of the stuff that's about to come up, I would suggest that there are secret archives.
I think so.
There are probably multiple doors labeled secret in these archives.
Sneaky Catholics.
I mean, yeah, and the all of the, I don't know how many people have seen the what is it? The Da Vinci Code movie.
Who hasn't?
Well, yeah, and that sort of is it that one? Yeah, it's that one that shows kind of what the inside of the archives might look like.
Yeah, because he goes down in the lift. That's why I wanted to know if it was underground. Because remember, he goes down in the lift, and then it's all like you can't get back out, that kind of stuff.
I think that was Hollywood, but to be honest, I couldn't say one way or the other because there are scant pictures of the inside of the archives.
It'll be a completely accurate representation. I mean, look what they did when they made that. I mean, look at, what was that Sandra Bullock thing, which was on a space shuttle?
Oh, Gravity.
Yeah, that was completely accurate. They only had the space shuttle going the wrong way around the Earth.
Well, it's not accurate because George Clooney didn't end up drifting off towards the sun.
Yeah, but they had the space shuttle orbiting, or the space station orbiting the wrong way. That's
Hollywood.
That's a kind of gross oversight, is it not?
Well, yeah, definitely. But that's Hollywood for you.
Yeah. Anyway, I have faith in the Da Vinci Code because Dan Brown would be on the case. Not
the thing about the Da Vinci Code is there's a bunch of threads of history in there, and some of it is accurate, and it's mixed up with a whole load of stuff that probably isn't. I mean, here's the whole thing about Cathars and the bloodline of Christ. That stuff is all real. The stuff about the Priory of Sion, it's most likely not real.
Oh, you got to remember, it's classified as fiction, so he's allowed to do that, isn't he?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's another book called Holy Blood, Holy Grail, which, if people are interested in that stuff, is worth a read. So back to the archives, we've got in amongst all of the different things that are reported to be in there. There are a few that I came across which I wanted to bring into the podcast because they seem to be, to me, the most fascinating. And the first of those is called the chronovisor.
Oh, the chronovisor.
Yeah, and this is not something that I'd even heard of
and I knew about this. I knew about the
I
chronovisor.
started researching the podcast. Now, the chronovisor is supposed to be a device that is stored in the archives, and it's a subject of fascination amongst conspiracy theorists and paranormal researchers and enthusiasts, but also people interested in understanding the kind of limits of human technology and some of the things that have been invented that never really made it to the light of day for whatever reason. But the chronovisor, according to various sources, is a device that enables its users to view historical events that occurred in the past or even foresee future events. It's often compared to a fantastical time travel machine, or more importantly, a sort of time television type thing. And the picture shows you Father Pellegrino Anetti, who's claimed to be one of the people who created it based on previous knowledge. And he's he didn't claim to have invented it, but he claimed to have built one with a number of other researchers. It's the device is said to be capable of capturing and rendering electromagnetic radiation left behind by past events, allowing the viewer to witness past occurrences in a visual and auditory manner. The idea behind the chronovisor gives rise to speculation, awe, and disbelief, as the prospect of viewing the past or future has been an eternal fascination for humans. And I mean, the theory, the sort of quasi-scientific theories behind it relate to the residual electromagnetic radiation. I've read it described a bit like a ship's wake, where you can actually, if you're looking for a ship at night, for example, you can actually see the wake quite clearly, and it sort of leaves and the
like ghost prints.
Disturbance, and the disturbance and the turbulence in the water actually lasts a lot longer than just the part of the wake of a ship that you can see. And so the chronovisor claims to be able to pick that up. Now, I cannot attest to the accuracy of any of the images. They're essentially just things that crop up consistently when one's searching for these things.
See, I thought
now,
though,
the legend.
I thought though that the chronovisor had been ordered destroyed.
Dismantled.
Oh, dismantled.
Supposedly. Yeah, well, some say that Father Anetti and his team dismantled it, and some say that he didn't, and that the Vatican have basically been using it, or nefarious forces have been using it to control the world. Because if you can see the past and the future, then you've got a huge amount of power.
But they're not doing very well, though, are they?
Well, not really, but on some level they kind of are, because they've got a huge amount of power and control.
Yeah, but Italy's not doing very well. I mean, it's one of the poorest countries in the EU. Remember, Italy was nearly bankrupt a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure that the Vatican really gives much of a toss about Italy, to be perfectly honest. I just don't. I mean, because it's a city-state. It's the same thing as saying that the City of London cares about the rest of the UK, and they really don't.
Shock.
And I realise that might be heresy to some, or maybe goodness. I'm just overly cynical. But
do you mean our politicians don't care for us?
Well, I'll let you work that one out.
Yeah, I think I worked that one out a long time ago, mate. Right, carry on. Come on.
So.
Get on with it.
Yep. So the legend of the chronovisor dates back to the 1960s and 70s, when a Catholic priest by the name of Father Pellegrino Anetti claimed to be one of the creators of the device. He was an accomplished and respected Benedictine monk, a physicist and musicologist. Father Anetti claimed that while working on the device to study and analyze ancient musical recordings, he, along with a team of scientists, which allegedly included renowned scientists Enrico Fermi and German rocket expert Werner von Braun, but I should say there's no evidence to back that up. That's just Father Anetti talking. And at the end of the day, he could have been a complete whack job. One has to kind of look at these things with a But supposedly the technology was invented accidentally. And Father Inetti stated they were able to witness historical events such as the crucifixion of Jesus, the assassination of Julius Caesar, and several other influential episodes in human history.
What was he trying to invent?
Well, they were studying and analyzing ancient musical recordings, and they essentially trying to play these recordings, I guess, and trying to create a device that could play them somehow, and stumbled across this coronavisor. It's all a bit murky. Let me just see. I've got another link up here where I've got a little bit more history. It worked by detecting and reproducing residual electromagnetic radiation and sound waves left behind by past events. In other words, the device was able to lock on to sights and sounds humanity had made in the past that continued to float through space. Using the chronovisor, Inetti claimed to have observed French conqueror Napoleon, the Roman philosopher Cicero, the performance of the lost play Thyestes by Roman poet Quintus Ennius, and perhaps not surprisingly, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And he said, we saw everything, the agony in the garden, the betrayal of Judas, the trial, cavalry. That was a quote from Father Inetti. He got the idea for the chronovisor when he heard a recording of a fellow priest's late father and started wondering all about the sights and sounds that humans make. Do they disappear or do they continue to exist in some way? And this is when he approached some famous people, and they created the device.
Right.
He said eventually they decided to dismantle it. Now, this picture, supposedly we've got a couple of pictures. One of them has kind of been debunked, which is the one on the right.
Yeah.
Which is there's two pictures on the right of the screen. The left-hand one of those pictures was supposedly a picture taken from the chronovisor.
Yeah.
And the right-hand one is essentially the debunked version,
right.
which is...
Hold on.
That right-hand one is from the Sanctuary of Merciful Love in Colle Valenza in Italy.
Okay, I've got that. That's fine. But this left-hand one, what's Noel Fielding doing in it?
Well, that is supposedly taken by the chronovisor, and that is Jesus.
Hold on. Is Jesus the guy with the big hair who looks like Russell Brand?
I think Jesus is second from the left.
Yeah, so the guy on the right is Noel Fielding, is he not?
I'm not. I don't even know if it's real. It's one of if you go hunting pictures from the chronovisor, it's one of the ones that came up.
Right. So the question you've got to ask is, if this thing works, right? Okay, who went back to see God given what's his name, the tablets?
It's not mentioned. I mean,
come on. You're meant to be religious, people. You're meant to be religious, and you don't go back to see the event that started the whole thing. See, these guys are amateurs.
Yeah, maybe it didn't come up in my research. I can't claim to have researched the subject exhaustively, just because of a lack of time. There are many unanswered questions surrounding the chronovisor. There's a lack of concrete evidence. The Vatican say, "What chronovisor?" and kind of walk off chuckling.
That's like the Kremlin. That's like the Kremlin right now. You know, you say, "Where's Prigozhin?" and they go, "Who?" I have no information. I had no information about that man.
Oh dear! Now,
I don't know why I thought that's an Indian there. Sorry.
It's probably the beer, but you're drinking Peroni, so you would think you'd start speaking with an Italian accent. Don't do that.
It's not the beer. Right, I get on with this.
So, Father Inetti, before his death in 1994, reportedly admitted that the photograph of Jesus Christ was a hoax, but maintained that the chronovisor was real. In contemporary times, the legend of the chronovisor still sparks debates and mysteries while remaining an alluring mystery from both a scientific and a metaphysical standpoint. Although Anetti never produced any part of the machine itself, he was persuaded to provide other forms of proof, one of which was the complete text of the play Thyestes, which I'd never heard of until that point, which Anetti said he had transcribed while watching the play through the chronovisor, and a photograph Anetti had taken of Jesus on the cross, which he's already admitted was fake. Now, today, conspiracy theorists claim that...
What were those other things you mentioned?
The photograph that he took of Jesus.
No, not the photograph. The other things, the things before that.
The complete text of the play Thyestes.
Right. And
which is some...
This has never been found before, apparently. Is that true?
But yeah, it's some lost.
And has anyone examined
play.
this? Has anyone examined the text of it to see if it kind of conforms with the period? In
fairness,
you don't know.
I have no idea. I didn't take it any further than
that.
I
thought you were a good researcher.
Well, we've only got an hour,
Ben,
or a bit. We're probably going to run over.
Fire up the freezer. We're going to have to put this one in cold storage.
Now, there are people who think that this chronovisor was seized by the Vatican and is still being used to secretly control governments and their economies all over the world. And that the fearsome dictatorship that Anetti warned about when asked what the future holds is potentially the Vatican itself. But who knows? I mean, one only has to look at the current Pope and his allegiance to wokeness to wonder about that.
The whole thing's about
that was the chronovisor. The next thing that is rumored to be in the archives is the true identity of the Antichrist, which obviously has been an enigmatic and controversial subject that has intrigued scholars, theologians, conspiracy theorists, and pretty much everybody else. Now, where the Bible is supposedly the primary source for all things related to the end times prophecy, and it has often been said that the Vatican's secret archives hold the key to deciphering the true identity of the Antichrist. The mysterious figure is destined to emerge as a sinister global leader, and has been prophesied in the book of Revelation to be the embodiment of evil, deception, and destruction. Now, if you ask me, we've got a few of those in the world at the moment, but I don't know if there's a worse one. Anyway, so the archives host many ancient and confidential documents dating from the 8th century and are only accessible to a select group of scholars and researchers. However, within those secret tapestry-like halls, it is believed to be the truth behind the identity of the Antichrist. And it's potentially buried in centuries-old dusty parchments, although there's no dust in those parts of the archive. Rumours have circulated for centuries, suggesting that the Vatican has been well aware of the Antichrist's true identity, but has intentionally withheld this information from the public. Well, there may not have been a specific... Why are you laughing?
Well, we've had two solutions from the chat already. We've had Keith Starmer, or alternatively Jeremy Hunt. I would personally go for Jeremy Hunt. He's more like the Antichrist than Keith, I think.
Well, I actually, as part of my research, it was last weekend, and I actually got ChatGPT to tell me, to give me 10 reasons why Bill Gates was like the Antichrist, and it gave me all 10 reasons, and then at the end it said, it should be noted that Bill Gates is not the Antichrist, and you shouldn't really be comparing him to it.
Well, at least it gave you the reasons why he was.
Yeah. Now, where were we? While there may not have been a specific name attributed to the Antichrist, it is alleged that the Church has long been privy to certain characteristics, origins, and paths to power that this enigmatic figure would possess.
Okay, he's going to be bad. He's going to be a bad guy. Right? Okay.
Yeah, but maybe slightly more specific.
Yeah, go on.
I don't know.
Sorry, go on.
One theory on his identity is said to be contained within the Vatican's vaults points to the man being of Jewish origin, born to a non-virgin mother, and embodying the number 666 in some way. These claims are based on various interpretations of prophecies in biblical scripture, but have led to countless speculations on how such a figure would rise to prominence in modern times. Another document allegedly stored in the Vatican's secret archives provides a surprisingly detailed description of the Antichrist's physical appearance and charismatic personality. According to this ancient text, the Antichrist is said to be an attractive and eloquent speaker who would captivate and deceive the masses with ease. And that was where I kind of lost it with the whole Bill Gates is the Antichrist, because he's none of those things.
No, he's not.
Furthermore, it is believed that his unrivaled ability to manipulate others would make it effortless for him to obtain political power across various nations. Bill Gates has got political power. Well, not political power. He's got a lot of power. But the notion of the Antichrist having a connection to modern politics and world leaders has long been a staple of end-time prophecies. Within the Vatican's hidden archives, there supposedly exists a wealth of evidence which suggests such a figure might already be in power or may soon rise to prominence through political manipulation, economic crises, or war. This alleged nefarious political connectivity has led many to believe that the Antichrist and his secret society may have deep ties to leading world organizations, banks, or even the Vatican itself. Some even argue that the Church's closely guarded secret is an attempt to maintain control over world affairs and hide its unwitting alliance with the Antichrist. A collection of esoteric writings from early Christian mystics has also been speculated to exist within the Vatican's secret archives, which may hold the key to the Antichrist's defeat. According to scholars who have studied these generational prophetic texts, the final battle between good and evil will be waged in the spiritual realm, culminating in the Antichrist's fall from power and ushering in a new age of peace.
Oh, well,
and
that's okay then.
I've heard so many people saying that at the moment we're in, the final battle between good and evil will be waged in the spiritual realm. That kind of sounds like what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, let me pause you just there for a minute. Just for a brief minute, if I may, Ed, in this enthralling episode of the Vatican Secret Archives, and we'll say goodbye to Twitter. I'm sorry, but it's bye Twitter. If you want to keep watching, come on over Twitter. To YouTube, youtube.com/Chasing Descent official. Bye. And they're gone. And should anyone wish to donate to us and to keep these fantastic and enthralling episodes, these treatise of the arcane, then please feel free to drop us something at ko-fi.com/Chasing Descent or patreon.com/Chasing Descent. And in particular, hang about tomorrow night when something new hits the streets. You'll be intrigued. Please go on.
Excellent. Well, that sounds about interesting about tomorrow. I'll make sure I check that out. So, the next one that we're going to go to is the third secret of Fatima, which you think, Ed, what the hell? Who is Fatima?
Yeah, who is Fatima?
What the hell's going on? But Fatima's not a place; it's a town in Portugal and the story starts in 1917.
Hold on, you said Fatima's not a place; it's a town.
No, it's not a person.
Right. Okay. So Fatima's a town in Portugal. Okay.
Yeah, not a person.
Right.
And it's also one of the most intriguing mysteries within the Catholic Church. Now, 3 shepherd children, Lucia, Jacinta, and Francisco, reported a series of Marian apparitions, which is when you see the Virgin Mary,
right? Okay,
near the town of Fatima in Portugal.
Oh,
in
yeah, right. Okay. Yep.
The 3 secrets were subsequently revealed by Lucia, or Lucia. I think it's, I don't know, Lucia.
Lucia.
I might have to pronounce it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lucia's good. We'll go with that. It sounds good. It sounds authentic.
Yeah. Lucia sounds good. but she claimed to have received them directly from the Virgin Mary.
Okay.
While the first two secrets were disclosed and widely publicized, the third secret became the subject of widespread conjecture, rumor, and suspicion after the Vatican decided not to reveal it to the public, which is the first one that got me. I was like, why would you give two out and not the third one?
Mm-hmm.
The first two secrets, well, I'll keep going and it might become clearer. The first two secrets involved a vision of hell with a prediction of the end of World War I and the beginning of World War II.
Okay.
It also foretold the need for a conversion of Russia, as well as offering a prophecy that when a great sign appeared in the sky, it would be a signal for the beginning of another punishment upon humanity from God.
So
However, it's the third secret.
Hold on. Just to clarify, that conversion of Russia would have been the Russian revolt of 1917, would it?
Well, I think in this particular case, it's talking about the conversion of Russia to Catholicism from Orthodox Christianity.
But is Russia not Orthodox Russian Church?
It is, but the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church are different. They have lots and lots of differences.
I know I'm being a bit annoying tonight, but I don't know an awful lot about this, so I'm asking questions. And one of the questions that's eaten away at me that's just come to me, and I think, how does someone that lived in the Middle East come up with the name Mary?
I don't know. That's a very good question. It might be, but the thing is that that might just be the English translation because
I'm sorry.
It's like Jesus's name in it because people wouldn't have called Jesus, they would have called him Yeshua. Yeah, because that's the Hebrew
or Jesus
version. So there's probably a Hebrew version of no Jesus. That's Spanish or Mexican, but no. But it's probably the same with Mary, like Maria or something.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what the.
I'm being obsequious. Anyway, right?
Yes,
do carry on.
Slightly facetious.
Thank you.
Now. The speculation surrounding the third secret of Fatima has led many to believe that it contains apocalyptic warnings, including predictions of widespread disaster or cataclysmic events. However, the Church has kept the contents of the secret close, only sharing it with a select few individuals. So there are some people who know it. Since then, there has been much debate about what exactly the secret might reveal and when the prophecy would be fulfilled. In 2000, under the direction of Pope John Paul II, the Vatican released what it claimed was the full text of the third secret of Fatima. This version described a vision of a bishop dressed in white who is shot and killed while attempting to escape a ruined city. While the Vatican has maintained that the third secret was fully revealed in this text, some experts and conspiracy theorists believe that the Church has withheld important details regarding the prophecy. The alleged hidden portions of the third secret involve apocalyptic scenarios and dire warnings for humanity. Some claim it predicts events such as the assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II, the rise of atheism and secularism, and an increasing loss of faith worldwide. Additionally, some argue that the third secret reveals information about a great chastisement or tribulation, which would involve intense suffering and devastation. It's also rumored that the secret archives
is coming to pass. That's what's happening right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, it could. I was when I was reading this stuff, I was thinking of Ben Davidson's Catastrophe Cycle, and Ben is he's the guy that runs Suspicious Observers, the YouTube channel. And maybe the third secret of Fatima is a prediction of that. Who knows? Or
it could be the impending nuclear war.
Well, there are those who claim that the actual contents of the third secret are so terrifying that the Church decided to keep it hidden from the public to avoid causing widespread panic.
Oh, there we go.
According to this belief, the Church may be withholding vital information about the end of the world or catastrophic events that would drastically alter the course of human history. So that's the third secret of Fatima, and I encourage any listeners who are interested, and if it's something that we're talking about strikes a chord, then do go off and do your own research, which people should do anyway. And yeah, if you find anything interesting, come and find me on Twitter. So the next one, and
before we go on to the next one,
we're going to get through 9.
Hold on, before we go on to the next one, David Peacock has joined us from Malta, and he says your pronunciation of Lucia is correct, so that's excellent. Malta, great place.
I love it.
Love Malta. Gozo, cool.
Diving in Gozo was amazing.
Did you go down to the statue? Did you dive down to the statue?
No.
Oh, did you not dive down to the little statue of Jesus? It's like
I've only got a day and a half diving.
Oh God, it's like diving down to it's like diving. You know the statue of the Christ the Redeemer. It's like diving down to that, except you're underwater and it's tiny. But it's really good fun. Anyway, but
I mean, Malta's fantastic.
Malta goes on the list because all the megalithomania around Malta and the catacombs and all that. So Malta's a possibility for a deep dive at some point.
That could be fun because there's a bunch of ancient stuff on Malta that we could talk about. There's a rabbit hole there for sure.
Even better if we could get out there and stream it live.
Yeah,
well, you know what? Let's have fun, right? Don't knock yourself out trying to get through it in an hour. If you need a little bit of extra time, that's fine. Or if you think it's we're only going to get halfway, then we'll reconvene next week, and we'll keep them wanting.
We could do that.
We'll
see if people are still interested because we've just done secret number 3 of the 9 that I found, and then I mean, to be honest, Pope John Paul I actually really deserves a rabbit hole of his own.
Yeah.
And if you wanted, I mean, if we wanted to go again next week, then I believe that I'm free, and we could probably do the Pope John Paul. And I mean, I can with the rest of the secret archive things I wanted to cover. We can keep going, and we'll see how far we get. Okay. I have been abbreviating things a little bit, so I'll do a bit more of that.
Right. So relax into it a bit. And
I'm completely relaxed. And, I could talk. I could go on talking until the wine runs out. You know me. And
the other thing is, we were originally scheduled for last week, so you've come in early this week. So that week's still clear for you to go. So no problem. Okay.
Cool.
Excellent.
So we've done the third secret of Fatima. The next one is the Lost Gospel of Judas, which, given Judas's kind of how most people think about him, the first time I came across this, you were almost. I mean, I'm not a Christian. I'm not one of the faithful or anything like that. But I do know Christian history, and it's. I mean, I was brought up in a Christian society, so the name Judas is one that you know. I didn't realize that there was Gospel of Judas. But it's an ancient document shrouded in mystery and conspiracy, and is another thing that's said to be held in the archives. It dates back to the 2nd century CE during the formative years of Christianity, obviously, and it offers an alternative perspective on one of the most well-known stories in religious history. It is believed to contain the account of Jesus' last days through the eyes of Judas Iscariot, thereby challenging traditional Christian narratives and casting Judas in a new light. Obviously, it's a stark contrast to the portrayal of Judas as the calculating traitor in the canonical New Testament Gospels. The text allegedly presents him as Jesus' most trusted and beloved disciple.
Well, Jesus Christ Superstar, the movie, kind of did that as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there was some inspiration from some of the rumors of the lost gospel, and
could well be. The whole gospel thing and the Gnostic gospels and the Gnostic gospels and all that. The whole thing's like it's a big rabbit hole in itself, and there's so much information out there that's been hidden from us that we don't know about. I mean, what happened to the Lost Library of Alexandria? I mean, how much information did we lose? It's just like we just. I mean, I even found out the other day that there's good evidence to suggest that we're actually we're not as far on as we should be, because there is evidence to suggest that there's 700 years missing. I.e., we've added 700 years to the calendar that shouldn't have been added.
I've heard that too, but I
Yeah.
also have
But
a friend who may well be listening who translates Latin texts,
Yeah.
and he's studied medieval history of King John, and he's translated all of the text. And he, when presented with this missing history argument, says it's not there. It's all there.
Well, yeah, but it's not.
He's been reading it.
It's not just in text. That's the thing. It's in physical. It's in the physical geology. So there's a whole thing to be examined there. I mean, it might end up being a rabbit hole at some point. But let's go back to tonight's rabbit hole. And sorry, Ed, you carry on.
No, it's fine. They're all fascinating tangents. But as you said a minute ago, the Lost Gospel of Judas was discovered in the early 20th century in parchment fragments discovered in a cave in Egypt. And the manuscripts were written in Coptic, which is an ancient Egyptian script derived from the Greek alphabet. And over the years, documents are subject to extensive scholarly examination and analysis, and alongside intense speculation in regards to the source of the ancient codex in Egypt, or possibility of fabrications. Many researchers, including influential scholar Bart D. Ehrman, questioned the legitimacy of the Gospels and suspected it to be a forgery or heretical work created by segments of the early Christian community. So, and it's the same, the Gnostic Gospels and everything else. Everyone's been arguing about them ever since it came out.
Yeah.
Now, what made the documents even more enigmatic was the notion of the Lost Gospel of Judas having been acquired by the Vatican in a cloak and dagger operation to prevent it from falling into the hands of those who sought to undermine the foundations of the Christian faith, which I could believe. Now, whether or not the Vatican possesses a copy the Vatican, again, they'll just say no.
Yeah.
But again, it's different understanding, and one of the things that I had to get my head around.
I bet Nicola Sturgeon's
with rabbit holes.
I bet Nicola Sturgeon's related to someone in the Vatican, because she keeps saying, "I can't recall."
Yeah, but no. Let's just not start talking about her. How about that? I know what it does to your blood pressure, John.
I've got excellent blood pressure, believe it or not. Anyway, carry on.
No, that's good. That's probably the beer's probably helping with that.
It's usually around about 120 or between 115 and 120 over 75.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. For an old guy, that's good.
So, yeah, definitely. Right. So that was the Lost Gospel of Judas. The next one is the Gospel of Eve, which is another elusive and controversial text, purportedly a part of the numerous hidden treasures in the archives. And it offers a unique perspective on the Genesis story, redefining the conventional interpretations of biblical narratives, particularly those concerning the first woman, Eve, and her role in the fall of humanity. According to some scholars who have attempted to study the limited fragments available, the Gospel of Eve is likely a product of the Gnostic Christian sect that flourished during the 2nd and 3rd centuries CE. Gnostics were considered heretical by the mainstream Christian church due to their beliefs in secret knowledge, gnosis, and an essentially dualist theology. Their writings and texts, which incorporate the distinctive Gnostic worldview, were usually deemed blasphemous and systematically destroyed, leaving behind scant and fragmented material evidence. Probably one of the reasons why they hid their scrolls in a cave in Africa. Now, amidst the sea of conjecture and debate, the Gospel of Eve offers alternative perceptions about the Genesis story that sound distinct from the canonical account in the Hebrew Bible. As the name suggests, this alternate gospel centers around the figure of Eve, exalting her as a symbol of wisdom and presenting her origins through a uniquely feminine lens. Some interpretations indicate that the theology entwined in this ancient text implies that Eve's actions in the Garden of Eden were not of sin and deception, but rather an attempt to attain spiritual illumination and empowerment. The fragments of the Gospel of Eve that have been discovered also defy conventional beliefs about gender roles and sexuality in the early Christian period. They suggest the text might promote gender equality and espouse a more liberated view of sexuality, a far cry from the patriarchal lens through which the church has typically viewed such issues.
Mm-hmm.
Evidently, this unorthodox and radical perspective would have been deemed by the church as a seismic threat to their status quo, which made the destruction and subsequent concealment of the gospel inescapable. The consequence of the clandestine existence of the Gospel of Eve, the question of whether it genuinely does reside within the archives, it's unsubstantiated. We just don't know. And I mean, there's all sorts of depressed and heretical Christian texts. People have to remember that in 346, I think it was 346, the Council of Nicaea, they effectively created Christian faith, and the Holy Roman Empire got all of the top Christians together and said, right, you lot, stop arguing, work out what it is you're going to do, and then we're gonna do it. And so they spent a long time arguing about what text to include and what not to include. And I mean, that was where the divinity of Jesus himself was decided, because there are and there were Christian sects who didn't think that Jesus was the sort of the Son of God, and had this whole divine thing that he was just a great man who did great things, and that he was a man, and it was I think it was the Council of Nicaea. Hopefully I've got that right. I really hope I got that right. Anyway, but they basically decided on Jesus' divinity, and he's the Son of God, and he was resurrected, and that kind of thing. But there's a lot of Christian texts out there, and I was talking to the same friend I mentioned a minute ago last night, and some of the things that he was talking about were crazy in terms of what some of these early Christian sects actually believed.
But were they? Were they any different? Were they really any more crazy than what people believe these days?
Who knows? And I mean, if you think about the way that the progression of the church has happened, they were deciding stuff about Jesus's life 300 years after he was dead. So, I mean, because the Nicaea, that was 346, and that's like 340 odd years after the birth of Christ, that they're sitting down talking about, right, was he the Son of God, or was he just a man? Or and I mean, it was supposedly very lively arguments. But the thing, and the problem that we've got with the Gnostic texts is that they're obviously parchment, and although remarkably intact, there are things like the Gospel of Eve that they're just too damaged to really know, and a lot of the stuff around it is just guesswork. But it's an interesting one. One of the reasons I chose it is because I think that one of the issues I've always had with Catholicism is they completely undermine and denigrate the role of women generally. And well, I don't necessarily, I just think...
Don't most religions?
It's more equal. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's one of the, maybe not Buddhism quite so much. But yeah, I mean, certainly Islam and Christianity, but then theoretically they supposedly apply the same sorts of rules to the men, because if you look at Islam, it's not just women that have to dress conservatively, the men have to as well. But the men being the men, the rules don't necessarily apply quite as strongly or something. I don't know. I'm not a religious person, so I don't really understand any of it that much. Certainly not from lived experience. Okie dokie. So the next one is...
You carry on. I'll be back.
Destiny. Oh no, that was the third secret Fatima. I've been missing the slides.
So you're going for a Spear of Destiny?
Judas.
We'll be back in a second. I'm just visiting the fridge, okay?
Yeah, no problem. Right, listeners, now I've got you on my own. Excellent. Right, so the next one, Spear of Destiny, which is supposedly also known as the Holy Lance. and is through history, it's captured the imagination of kings, conquerors, and even Adolf Hitler, who sought to possess the relic for their own power. Rumors abound that the Vatican has concealed the Spear of Destiny within its archives, shrouding its origins and significance in even greater mystery. It's believed by many to be the same lance used by a Roman centurion named Longinus to inflict the mortal wound on Jesus Christ during his crucifixion. In the Gospel of John, it is recorded that a soldier pierced Jesus' side with blood and water pouring forth. The act of stabbing Jesus was not merely an act of cruelty or desecration, but rather served a practical purpose to confirm his death before allowing his body to be removed from the cross. According to legend, Longinus was blind in one eye, and after piercing Jesus' side, the blood and water that flowed from the wound touched his impaired eye, miraculously restoring his sight. Astonished by this divine intervention, Longinus would later become a Christian and a martyr, giving birth to the veneration of the Holy Lance as a powerful Christian relic. Various accounts claim that possession of the Spear of Destiny would grant its wielder an immense amount of power, both political and military, rendering him invincible in battle. The journey of the Spear of Destiny through history is a fascinating and convoluted tale. After the crucifixion, the lance is said to have been passed through the hands of various Roman emperors. It is said to have been in the possession of Constantine the Great, who attributed his military successes to the power of the Holy Lance. From there, the spear passed through the realms of European royalty, eventually finding its way into the Habsburg imperial treasury in Austria. The spear's allure was not lost on Adolf Hitler, who, during the Anschluss in 1938, acquired the relic and brought it back to Germany. At the conclusion of the Second World War, American soldiers discovered the spear in Nuremberg and returned it to Austria, where it remains on display in Vienna. However, some believe that this is in fact a replica, and the true Spear of Destiny was spirited away by the Vatican to be hidden within the walls of their secret archives. These enigmatic archives are said to house a treasure trove of ancient and forbidden... We knew that because we're covering it, sorry. The idea that the Vatican is concealing the Spear of Destiny is rooted in conspiracy theories and speculation, but the secretive nature of the Vatican, which has been marred by controversies and scandals throughout history, only serves to fuel the imaginings of those who seek hidden truths. The belief in a cover-up by the Vatican seems to be a tantalizing thread for many enthusiasts of religious artifacts, unfolding a fascinating narrative worthy of inclusion in a Dan Brown novel. Surprised he hasn't done one about the Spear of Destiny.
So Hitler had the Spear of Destiny?
Yeah, well, supposedly it's been traced all the way to Austria, and it's on display in Austria, and theoretically Hitler had it.
Right.
Now, whether that was the actual thing, I mean, there's nothing that I could find about when it was supposed to have been replaced with a replica.
So is the Spear of Destiny, is it a complete item or is it in bits?
As far as I know, it's a complete item.
Right, okay. Because I thought some of it had been broken up. And some people claim to have.
To be honest, after 2,000 years, after 2,000 years, I can't imagine that if it was a wooden spear, that the wood necessarily would have survived completely intact, because it would dry out and everything else. Mm-hmm. Right, so that was the Spear of Destiny. Okay. Next up, there's another one that I hadn't heard about.
Surprised Zelensky's not asked for it.
He probably has in secret. It wouldn't surprise me.
Can I have the Spear of Destiny, please, Mr. Pope?
You have to give us the Spear of Destiny in order for Ukraine to win.
Carry on. Sorry.
Now, dating back to ancient Hellenistic Egypt, Hellenistic being Greek, when the Greeks ruled Egypt.
Yep.
The Emerald Tablet has been shrouded in mystery and rumor for centuries.
What time period would that have been then, when the Greeks ruled Egypt?
Hellenistic Egypt. Oh, 1 second.
Oh, you're gonna have to look it up. Well, you carry on. I'll look it up. I've got devices here that let me talk to people on the interwebs. So you carry
I've
on.
already done it.
All right, okay. You're better than I am then.
305 BC to 30 BC.
All right, okay, cool. You don't really think of the Greeks getting around in those time periods, do you? You know, the way, I mean, that's down in North Africa. That's pretty cool. And
yeah,
and,
no,
and
I
of
mean,
course,
the Greeks...
you got to remember, Cleopatra was Greek, wasn't she? Or did she just take it Greek style? No, I think she was
so.
Greek. I think she was Greek.
But we've had quite a lot of controversy about Cleopatra thanks to Hollywood. So let's just not go there.
Yeah, okay. No, I think she was Greek.
Now,
yeah.
So the Emerald Tablet is said to be imbued with esoteric wisdom that holds the key to the transmutation of metals and the secret to eternal life, epitomizing the ultimate ambitions of alchemists throughout history. Though there's no concrete evidence of its existence, the enigmatic tablet has captured the curiosity and fascination of scholars and mystics and treasure hunters alike. The origins of the Emerald Tablet are steeped in myth, clouding the boundary between reality and fabrication. Some accounts suggest that the tablet may date as far back as the lost city of Atlantis, while others argue that it was penned by the hand of Hermes Trismegistus. Oh, sorry, I probably mangled that. The purported founder of Hermetic philosophy, who is believed to be an amalgamation of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. Thoth? Never know how to pronounce that.
Thoth.
Though the author of the tablet remains unidentified, it is widely accepted that the Emerald Tablet was translated into numerous languages throughout the ages, with the most notable form being the Latin version, Tabula Smaragdina, which appeared in medieval alchemical manuscripts from as early as the 12th century. At the heart of the Emerald Tablet's lore is the enigmatic concept of the Philosopher's Stone, a fabled talisman that has been claimed to possess the power to transmute base metals into gold and bestow the gift of immortality upon those who wield it, also featured in the relevant Harry Potter film. The tablet is said to be inscribed with the cryptic verses that, when correctly interpreted, reveal the secret to achieving both the conversion of base substances and the extension of life. This elusive text has garnered significant attention from alchemists throughout history, including prominent figures such as Sir Isaac Newton and Roger Bacon, who allegedly grappled with deciphering its mysterious code. The notion that the Emerald Tablet is hidden within the secret archives is a tantalizing element within the tapestry of its mythology. Believed to house innumerable rare documents and manuscripts, the Catholic Church has been, it's concealed loads. So, yeah, it's worth considering. Wow. I'm not even going to answer that one. I don't want to get myself into trouble. But it is worth considering whether the Emerald Tablet is a literal object, if it's a symbol for a deeper understanding of nature and the cosmos that is accessible only to those with the wisdom and determination to seek it. Regardless of where the truth behind the Emerald Tablet resides, the symbolic poetry of this enigmatic artifact cannot be denied. It represents the eternal quest for knowledge and mastery over the elements and the unwavering human pursuit of meaning, understanding, and transcendence in the ever-unfolding tapestry of existence. So it's one of those things that it's just rumors. No one's ever claimed it's translated text that is probably been translated and retranslated. I found it fascinating that there are rumors that it came from Atlantis. But again, it's all just rumors and speculation. So the next one, where are we? Oh, I found a really good picture, just going back to Dan Brown for a minute. And this is a slight tangent because it's got nothing to do with the secret archives. But as I was doing the research, I found this really great picture of the Last Supper.
Yeah.
which is supposedly Da Vinci. Was it Da Vinci or? I think it was Da Vinci
Leonardo.
Yeah. No,
Leonardo.
Da Vinci hinting at the
gender.
Well, it's supposedly this is a guy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh no, hang on. Let me just. Whoa! Wait a minute. Back there.
Are you able to zoom in?
Yeah. I'm
That's
not
a guy.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
supposed
Angela
to
Rayner.
be a guy. Also, this is the Last Supper, and because this is also surrounding the Dan Brown thing, where
I know
the Holy Grail is not actually an object. Notice,
the Holy
cup.
Yeah, the Holy Grail is the bloodline, isn't it? Yeah, it's the
and
it's
then
Grail.
You've got the V. Yeah, you've got the V. You've got the lack of the cup. You've got this distinctly feminine-looking person who's actually supposed to be. The church will tell you that's a guy.
That's Admiral Rachel Levine. Sorry. Sorry. Carry on.
It looks way better than that.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't quite know why I put that particular slide there, but it's just a little side note.
Yeah, it's a bit like the whole thing's a bit antagonistic, though, isn't it? They're all fighting with each other, apart from JC, who's sitting in the middle, going, "Just chill, dudes. Just chill."
But he's the savior, and the other ones are all bickering about who's his best friend.
Yeah, I know. Did you ever watch the movie Jesus Christ Superstar, or the musical?
I did many years ago.
I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. It really opened my eyes up to what the church isn't. You know, I quite enjoyed it, and it gave me a deeply held respect for Judas. And don't get me wrong here, right? Because Judas is actually a great analogy for what's going on in the world right now, in that a lot of people did really bad and evil things because they thought they were doing the right thing.
I've you know what I mean? Kind of. Yeah, no, I do. I mean, as I've said before, I wouldn't classify myself as a religious person in the sense that I'm a Christian or anything like that. But in the last 3 years, the only way that I've been able to make sense of what's been going on is actually to think of it in terms of good and evil and Satan.
I think
if there is that kind of evil, there has to be good.
Well, yeah, you're right. And the thing is, just because people think they're doing the right thing doesn't mean they're not doing evil. You know, and that's the problem, because it doesn't excuse their evil actions. And that's why we shouldn't excuse their evil actions and why they should be held to account. But unfortunately, in the society we live in, these people don't get held to account. They basically get a free pass. But I mean, look at Tony Blair. He gets a free pass. Look at George. I mean, look at what Kerry came out with. And sorry, we're going a bit topical, but look what Kerry came out with only this week. You know,
Lindsey Graham.
Well, yeah, but John Kerry came out with a thing. You know, America admits that it was an illegal invasion of Iraq by the US, right, and Britain and the Allies. That was an illegal invasion, and they admit that, but it wasn't a war crime because George Bush didn't get charged. That's what Kerry said. That's why it wasn't a war crime.
I missed that one completely in the news.
That's just that's
totally
just incredible. Absolutely incredible. And this is what Tony Blair and Alistair Campbell are getting off on as well. It wasn't a war crime because they never get charged. You know, and this is exactly what's going to happen with people like Matt Hancock and Boris and you know, everybody down the line, Trudeau, Ardern. Nobody's ever going to be held to account because it wasn't a crime because nobody ever got charged. Yeah, it's like saying this guy got murdered, but he wasn't really murdered because nobody ever got charged for it. He just died.
Yeah, well, it's like saying that all the Jack the Ripper's victims died of natural causes because the Ripper never got caught.
We've got another one to do.
I know we've already done Ripper.
Oh no, we've got another one to do. And this is not a joke, right? And it's real, and it happened, and it's called Jack the Stripper.
Oh, shut up.
No, it's real. It's in the list. Remember that list of stuff I sent you? It's in there. Jack the Stripper.
Look, we're not covering porn stars.
He's not. No, it's not. He's a serial killer. It's exactly like Jack the Ripper, except he was in the popular press nicknamed him Jack the Stripper because he left all his victims naked.
I didn't even know about that one.
Mm-hmm. And it's from the 60s, so it's even more topical.
Okay, yeah, no, we can cover that one for sure.
Yeah. Jack the Stripper.
Right. Back to the Vatican.
Right. Okay.
Next up. Now we're mixing rabbit holes because this is aliens and the church.
Oh my God!
And according to various sources, contact between the church and alien life forms has been occurring since time immemorial. During the Middle Ages, religious texts and artifacts reportedly contain symbols and references to non-human entities visiting Earth. There are also some religious paintings that have clear UFOs in them. And these references were typically interpreted as apparitions or visitations from angels and other divine beings. However, some theorists argue that these encounters were in fact the fruit of meetings between church representatives and extraterrestrial beings with advanced wisdom and knowledge sought after by the church to solidify its power. The alleged meetings were said to have taken place in numerous clandestine locations, including secluded monasteries, remote mountain churches, and even secret rooms within the Vatican itself. These encounters were strictly restricted to high-ranking members of the clergy, and considering the ramifications of disclosing the existence of alien life to the public. Furthermore, the church's power was heavily reliant on its theological and philosophical doctrines. Acknowledging non-human intelligence would profoundly challenge their authority. Just like the Earth not being at the center of the universe. As purported in the conspiracy theories in the secret meetings between the church.
What? You mean it's not? What do you mean?
Let's not go there. Otherwise, we're just going to be here for hours. Now, the secret meetings between the church and extraterrestrials involved sharing advanced technology and knowledge in exchange for ensuring public submission into the religious doctrines. Rumors abound that the Vatican has access to advanced technology provided by these meetings, featuring teleportation, anti-gravity, and even time travel devices. Possibly chronovisor, who knows? Yet, despite the alleged presence of otherworldly technology, the church is said to have buried this knowledge to maintain the status quo and its authority. The supposed existence of encrypted records documenting such interactions between the church and alien life forms within the Vatican secret archives continues to fuel public speculation. These records are said to contain conversations between the Pope and alien ambassadors, policy decisions influenced by the meetings, sketches of extraterrestrial beings, and artifacts that have been collected over the years. Although there is no concrete evidence to support these theories, the cryptic nature of the Vatican has undoubtedly nurtured the notion of hidden knowledge, inaccessible even to the most determined historians and researchers. Pope Francis himself has added fuel to the fire with his comment in 2014 that if Martians wish to receive baptism, they should not be denied the opportunity. He actually said that. This statement has prompted further discussions about the church's potential knowledge of extraterrestrial life and potential dealings with extraterrestrial visitors.
But maybe he was just thinking, maybe he'd been looking in a chronovisor, right? And he'd seen that Elon Musk has colonized Mars. And when the people come back that have never been on Earth before, they call them Martians.
That's a fair point. Well, yeah, if you're thinking ahead, that's
big brain,
logical
big
sense.
brain.
Assuming he can get through the Van Allen belt, which I have asked old Musk on Twitter a few times about the Van Allen belts that I just get ignored. So,
do you watch any of our shows at all?
yes, not as many as I should.
You didn't catch the one about how many launches he has to make in order to get his lander to the moon?
No, I missed that one.
Right. So, and I'm sorry, people, if we're going off topic, but he has to make some estimates. Reckon. So what happens is you know how a rocket works. It burns fuel to get into low Earth orbit, right? But it burns a hell of a lot of fuel to get into low Earth orbit, and it can't carry enough fuel to get all the way to the moon, unlike the Saturn V, which allegedly could, right? so
Which still wasn't as big as what Werner von Braun originally predicted would be needed to do the job.
I think it was about a third of the size. In fact, there's another rabbit hole we could add to the list, right? But anyway, so Musk's massive rocket, which is bigger than a Saturn V, right? What it will do, it will launch and put the lander into low Earth orbit, and the lander will then be tanked from space by tankers, which will be fired up from, a tanker will be launched, but the tanker will use most of the fuel that it carries to get into low Earth orbit. So the tanker's basically going to be empty, right? So then Musk will launch other rockets to fill the tanker up. And some estimates are saying he's going to need 16 rocket launches to fill the tanker to then fill the lunar lander stage, which is then going to go to the moon and land on it and come back. Now that, how did we get there in 1969? How? If he's
they did it on one rocket.
Yeah, we did it with one rocket, and he's going to take 16 rockets for fuel, and one for the tanker and one for the lander. That's 18 rockets for him to get to the moon. And that's not the one that takes the people. That's the one that's just going to go and land, and then the Artemis is going to come along, dock with it, and the people are going to go down to the surface, right? So the Artemis is completely separate from this. So what the hell is going on here? This is like, we're going to need 30 rockets to get to the moon and back.
I would just refer the listeners to our previous rabbit hole on the moon landing.
Yeah, I think so.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, we're on the last of the 9 that I picked. So let's get through this one.
Yeah, let's get through
see how much time we've got left. Okay, the last one I picked was Demon Possession Files, which I thought would be fun.
Oh, have you got Father Martin Malachi in here?
I'm not sure.
Right, okay, carry on.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Let's go through it.
Okay.
Now, little is known of the vast trove of records held within the Vatican's secret archives, as they house some of the most classified information pertaining to events that have shaped the course of human history. One particular set of documents that has intrigued scholars for centuries involves malevolent entities and demonic possession. Though the public has been granted only a limited view into the archives, several accounts have explored the existence of these files that detail in vivid horror the Church's encounter with demons throughout the ages. It is believed that the first mention of demonic possession dates back to biblical times, but the actual understanding of certain incidents became clearer in the late Middle Ages, around the 15th to 16th centuries. The Church's approach to such otherworldly entities began to evolve, with distinctions being drawn between possession and other psychological disorders. Alas, this did not hold the march of inquisitors or the burning of innocents accused of consorting with dark forces. In the secret archives are said to be detailed accounts of the cases of demonic possession that have come to the attention of the Church, painstakingly chronicled by priestly scribes. These manuscripts provide a chilling insight into the horror faced by those who have confronted the demons head-on. It is said that many have fallen in the line of duty, forced to take on the powers of darkness with nothing more than their faith and their sacred rites as their weapons. One noteworthy account concerns the possession of the Louviers convent in the 17th century in France. Sister Madeleine Bavon, and several other nuns were accused of being possessed by demons after experiencing uncontrollable fits and convulsions. As the hysteria grew, an investigation by the local bishop was launched. Sordid allegations of sexual misdeeds and Satanism were hurled around with abandon, reminiscent of the Salem witch trials. Ultimately, a lurid tale of depravity, torture, and exorcisms emerged. Whilst the story of the Louviers possession is well known partly due to the salacious details that were leaked to the general public during the time, there are countless more cases that have remained shrouded in secrecy within the confines of the secret archives. It is believed that many are far more disturbing and that they have been deliberately kept from public view to prevent panic or hysteria. Some of these files allegedly...
Sorry, I mean, see these things like the possession of the nuns, you know, that, and I'm spitballing here, right, and I have no evidence to back this up other than the fact that it has happened in other occasions in different places, but this sounds exactly like some kind of hallucinogenic growth on something they've been eating, whether it be the wheat that they make their bread out or whatever, you know, like ergot, that kind of thing. So it sounds exactly like that. You know, they've basically had a dose of bad mushrooms or something and they've all gone loopy.
It's entirely possible, but then there's all sorts of stories and different accounts that I've read about people being in hallucinogenic states and through that hallucinogenic state contacting other creatures, aliens, reptiles, whatever. So maybe they did. I mean, maybe it was mold on the bread, which has the ergotamine fungus, which is how they make LSD. I mean, the old story of the witches, just for another tiny little tangent, the witches' brooms, I don't know if people know that legend actually comes from witches rubbing the ergot fungus on broomsticks, and then because it's poisonous, so you can't ingest it. But if women put that on a broomstick and then rub their private parts with it, they basically get off their faces. And that's one of that's actually where, because some normie came along and saw them dancing around on these broomsticks in the forest, and that's where the story of witches riding around on broomsticks comes from.
And the question is, who first thought this up, right? And it's like who first thought it was good? It was going to be good to drink reindeer piss.
I've never had that thought, but I've wondered the same thing. Was it accidental?
Right. Well, do you accidentally drink reindeer piss? Right. So reindeers eat hallucinogenic mushrooms, right? Or hallucinogenic stuff. They ferment it, and it's mushrooms, and it comes out in their piss. And if you collect the reindeer piss and drink it, you get a high, right? Now, apparently, the Laplanders go around drinking reindeer piss. Probably not these days, but because you can buy it differently. But they used to go around drinking reindeer piss. Who came up with it?
Come up with that? Well, only you could even come up with that for the podcast. He was probably someone like you. He was probably an ancient version of John.
Well, but hold on, right? You've heard of ayahuasca, right? Which is this hallucinogenic that the South American Indians produce, okay?
And I've always fancied trying that, but I ain't drinking no reindeer piss.
Right, okay. But, so you can make psilocybin tea, so you don't need to drink the reindeer piss, because it's the red cap, that's what they eat. The one that looks like the reindeers like that mushroom. So they eat that. And you can make tea out of that without having to go through the reindeer piss, but the reindeer piss works really well, apparently. But anyway,
is that the same as the Kapu Luwak coffee in Indonesia, where the coffee beans get eaten and crapped out by a little mammal? Yeah. Right, let's get back to demonic possession, because I'd rather talk about that.
Let's just
reindeer piss.
Let's just quickly deal with ayahuasca, right? So this is a vine, right, that contains a hallucinogenic, but it's only activated when it's boiled with another plant. to then make a tea that you drink and then go on a trip. How? How do you come up with that? How do you know that plant needs that plant to activate it so that you can then go on a trip? Who comes up? I mean, has some guy been spent his whole life cutting up different plants, boiling them up and drinking the tea to see if he can get high? Really?
I suspect things like that probably happen, having been on the planet for 50 years nearly, and I reckon shit like that happens by accident. I think it just happens to be someone is making one thing up and something else happens to fall into it, and they have it and they get messed up.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's
Occam's razor. I mean,
yeah, keep it simple.
One of the things. Yeah, I mean, Occam's Sir William of Occam, basically, the simplest explanation is most likely to be the true one.
But it's like the quantities have got to be right as well. Anyway, right, let's get back to demonic possession. Let's jump back in there.
So,
let's jump back into the demons.
Yeah, well, no, we're basically nearly done with this part.
Right. Okay.
Now, the belief in demonic possession has been rooted in the human psyche for centuries. It's among the most disturbing concepts to grapple with because it challenges our understanding of good and evil and the forces that seem to govern our existence. While many dismiss these tales as mere superstition or overheated imaginations, the Vatican's staunch secrecy concerning these files raises more questions than answers. As one steps back and considers the sheer number of documents hidden within the vaults of the Vatican secret archives, it is only natural to wonder at the true scope and horror of the world's stored knowledge of demons and possession. Though these files may remain locked away from public view, it's impossible to ignore the chilling thought that there may be many more cases we remain ignorant of. Many questions remain unanswered. However, what is certain is that the Vatican secret archives holds dark, hidden secrets that humankind might never be fully prepared to confront. And that was the end of that part.
Right. So the demonic possession. I mean, right. Are we really talking mental illness?
Are we talking mental illness, or are we talking some sort of hallucinogenic experience, or are we talking about some sort of metaphysical experience? Or are we talking about an actual possession? I think it's an absolutely fascinating subject. I mean, there's probably a spectrum of them. I would imagine that some are probably mentally ill people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, some of the stories that have come out suggest something else. And to be honest, if you'd asked me 4 years ago what I thought about these things, I had a very different view than the one that I do now, simply having seen 3 years worth of just the most unbelievable evil that I could possibly imagine. I mean, who the hell needs demonic possession when you've got people like Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, and George Soros running around, for crying out loud? I mean, when you look at these, it's crazy. And when you think of that, if there's that kind of wickedness in the world, then the universe is about balance. So for all of the wickedness that there is in the world, there has to be an equal amount of good, because that's just how things work.
Yeah.
Everything in the universe is about balance. And where the universe or the planet or anything that's part of our existence, when it goes out of balance, it's like when your body goes out of balance, you generally come down with some sort of cold or flu. Hurricanes are the Earth's way of achieving balance in the atmosphere. And I imagine that the same thing happens on larger and larger scales, going right up to the galaxy and beyond. Because, I mean, everybody knows that we're in a pole shift at the moment, but what a lot of people probably don't know is that the geomagnetic excursion that we're having at the moment is connected to a galactic geomagnetic event and I can't claim to understand it, but I know I have sources that I trust that tell me it's happening. And so who knows what is out there? And I mean, some of the demon stuff, I've seen some absolutely fascinating videos with people like David Icke, who has a really good, I don't know how many people are Iconic subscribers, but there's a brilliant interview that David Icke did with a Zulu shaman called Krito Mutwa or something back in the 90s. And he talks about some of the kind of ancient Southern African traditions of these reptilian creatures, and it's absolutely fascinating stuff. And I mean,
there's other stuff that needs to go on the list. Well, the Dogon. Definitely,
we're gonna have to compile a list. We should probably do it.
I've compiled the list. I sent you it.
Well, it needs to. If it didn't go into our shared folder, it didn't happen.
Right. Okay. I think we've kind of come to a natural hiatus in tonight's show.
Agreed.
And what I want you to do, if you don't have enough material for a full episode, right? I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link to.
No, if we're gonna talk about, because I'm actually reading this particular book that's up on screen at the moment. And Pope John Paul I's murder is like a Kennedy-sized rabbit hole.
Oh, right. Okay. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this next week.
I mean, yeah. No, let's do it next week, because we've got Roberto Calvi, and we've got the Vatican Bank, and we've got these creepy-looking dudes, and yeah. So next time we will do John Paul I.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do that.
Same bat channel.
Yeah, let's do that. Right, and then I'll send you a link, and there's a guy that we could probably do after it, or if we wanted to continue this as a kind of mini series, because this guy's got definitely an episode's worth of stuff on him.
Yeah, I'm up for that. Send it over to me, and we can cover that.
So that's us for tonight, people. I think that's been interesting. I hope I've not annoyed you too much with my questioning.
You haven't annoyed me. It's fun. Otherwise, it's just me talking for hours. I'm not. I must admit, it's one of my least knowledgeable topics. Which is good. Too. Which is good for me, because every day's a school day. It's great to learn something new. So yeah. That's one of the reasons that I really enjoy these rabbit holes. Yeah, no, I agree. Because I didn't know a huge amount about the Vatican going into it, and it's fascinating researching this stuff. Yeah. So and thank you everyone that's attended. Remember, should you like these and want them to continue, feel free to donate us a small donation if you can possibly afford it at Ko-fi.com/Chasing Descent. You see it on screen. And just as a matter of interest, if you do it during the live shows, it will sound a siren and your message will be read out. If you type a message in, that is. So remember that. And also you can donate to us on patreon.com/Chasing Descent. And from tomorrow, there'll be other things. So come along tomorrow and join all in. And I know some of you guys come along just to listen to Ed, because let's face it, he's got a great voice for sending you to sleep. But apart from that, come along. you know, I don't mean that, Ed. But anyway, come along tomorrow night and listen to All In, because it's a wee bit more off the wall. We don't go into subjects quite as deeply or as intensely as we would normally. We try and have a bit of a laugh, and usually we have usually I have a couple of beers and Ben has some kind of sugary drink. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, come along, and we're launching something new tomorrow, so come along. Okay. Anything to add? Thank you very much.
Ed?
No, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for listening, and I hope people found it informative, and tune in next week for the next episode, and I will do my best to join John and Ben tomorrow. But thanks everyone for listening, And
So-
it's been fun, as always. Oh, and follow me on Twitter, Ed the Techie,
Yeah.
if you're not already.
Ed the Techie. You get me at the Collator, and you get Ben at disabled_journal, I believe it is. So yeah, we are around. So follow us, like and share this if you can, because it really helps the algorithm. And you know what really, really helps? If you jump on after the fact, and if you've got 5 minutes of work and you're bored, jump on and just make a comment. Because we read all the comments anyway, but people that comment on the videos make a big difference. Now, to get to the videos on YouTube, you have to go to the live tab. So even though it's not live, you go to the live tab and you see all the live shows, all the archive live shows. And if you make a comment there, it really helps us. So jump in and make comments. Thanks. Thank you. Because we need you to keep talking to us to boost we want to boost the audience, because we love doing this and we want to keep doing it. And it's the only way that we can see him making money is, get people to donate value for value and to try and get some ad revenue. Ideally, I'd love to turn the ad revenue off, but not enough donate. And the ones that do donate, you are appreciated. And you know what? You'll find out tomorrow night that you're really appreciated. So, with that, Ed?
Thank you, John. Thank you, audience. And we'll see you all next week.
Thank you. And you know what? As always, people, it's been great for you.
You can see the writing on the pavement. Young kids, they're growing up in basements. Online, a whole new generation. I'ma make mine, so you better go take it. Always, they need a new replacement. Decentralized, can't contain it. We're changing lives, yeah, upgrading. Call it suicide of the older generation. Too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it.
What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah.